Today, we're going to build a Webex bot that uses the insane AI capabilities of ChatGPT. Now, if you want to build this yourself, you can follow along. You're just going to need, of course, a Webex account, and you'll also need the latest version of Python. So if you don't have that already installed, then just go over to python.org and then just hover over the downloads, and it'll detect your operating system automatically. You'll also need a text editor, and I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code or VS Code. Just go over to code.visualstudio.com, and again, it'll automatically detect your operating system for the download. And then finally, you're going to need an account with OpenAI. Now, you're going to have to set up a paid account, but it's pretty cheap, especially with the model that I'm going to be using for this video. It's ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, which is like 2 cents per 1,000 tokens. So it's pretty cheap. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is go over to developer.webex.com. I'm already logged in here, but there's a login in the upper right-hand corner. Now, once you're logged in, then down here, you'll want to click Start Building Apps, and then, of course, Create a Bot. And then you'll need to fill in the bot's information. Now, first you're going to need to give it a name, and then you'll need to give it a username. And the difference is the name is what you see in Webex, and the username is what you use to add the bot to a space or send it a direct message. So I'll show you this here in just a second. Now, Webex GTP, the name doesn't have to be unique, but the username does. So if someone's already taken it, then you're going to have to choose another one. Looks like Webex GPT is already taken here. Let me try that with an underscore. And yeah, we can use this one. Great. So then you just need to select an icon. Purple looks nice to me. And then we'll drop in a description here. You can say anything. And ChatGPT. Perfect. Then we'll come down here and add bot. And then it's going to create our bot for us. And then here you can see it gives us our bot's token. And we're going to need this here in a little bit later. And then here you can see our bot's name and our bot's username, which we'll use those to add to Webex. So let me go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and copy it here. Then I'll go over to Webex. I'll click the plus sign and then send a direct message. Then paste that in there and then invite to Webex. Great, and then over here you can see it added our bot. Great, we're all set there. Okay, so from here we can go ahead and start building out our bot. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder on my desktop, and I'll call it GPT. Then I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code. Make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, close that. Then I'm going to drag the folder onto the VS Code window. Now close that. Then go up to Terminal, then New Terminal. And then down here, we're going to need to install a few things. Now, normally to install packages, at least on a Mac, you're going to use pip3 install and then whatever package you need to install. Or if you're on Windows, you'll probably use just pip install and then the package name. But I don't use pip for a package manager. I use something called pipenv. Now, pipenv is both a package manager like pip, but it's also a virtual environment, which is why I use it. Because I like to use virtual environments so that I don't have to install packages globally. Instead, I can just install them, to that virtual environment. And that way it keeps everything neat and tidy and organized. Now, because I'm going to use a virtual environment, before I install anything, I first have to initiate the virtual environment. And I can do that with pipenv shell. And I don't need that. We can cancel that. And then we can see that it successfully created our virtual environment. And now I can just say pipenv install and then the package name. First we're going to install Webex bot, and then we'll let that run. And if you noticed up here, when we initiated our virtual environment, it created this pip file for us. And so inside of here, you can see it'll list the packages you've installed in this virtual environment. Now, we just did Webex Bot. I'll explain what that is here in just a second. Next, let's install OpenAI. So that's going to be pip env install OpenAI, and then we'll let that run. And then we can see that it added OpenAI to our list up here. Perfect. And that's all we need for this project. So the first thing we're going to do is build out our server for our Webex bot. So let's go ahead and create a new file, and we'll call it app.py. And then let's go over to the GitHub page for Webex bot and take a look at what this package is going to do for us. So this is the Webex bot package that we just installed. And then if we scroll down here, so basically this package allows you to use WebSockets to receive incoming messages from the Webex cloud without needing a public IP or having to use webhook. So if you've ever built a Webex bot before, you know that that can be really cumbersome. Just a quick word about the version here. It says that it's only been tested with version 3.9, but I've used 3.11. That's the latest release at least as of the recording of this video. And, I can say that just, in terms of the basic functionality, it's been fine. I haven't run into any problems. And then this is how you install the module. We've already done that. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. And what I want to do is I want to grab, this is basically some boilerplate code that we can grab to get us started. I'm going to grab this, but then we're going to have to modify it quite a bit, actually. Okay, just paste that in there. I'm not going to use environment variables, so this is just a demo, so we can get rid of that. And then this first line, we're not going to use this. What we're going to do is create our own command. So we'll say, for now, we'll say from GPT, import GPT, and we'll create GPT. Well, we'll define, what that means here in just a second. Okay, then we'll need to come down here. This is where we paste in our bot's token, but you also have some options to define additional parameters like the bot's name or who has access to the bot. You can limit that by domain or username. For now, I'm gonna get rid of all of that. Maybe we can cover that in another video. This is just a quick demo here. So we'll go back over to the Webex developer portal and copy the token. Great, and then come back over to VS Code, and then we'll paste it in there. Okay, so then next, what we want to do, I'll add another line in here. Now, this package by default, it uses this default help command, but we don't want to use that. We want to use our own command, which we're going to make here in just a second. For now, we're just going to clear this out. So we'll say clear default help command, and we'll clear that out with bot.commands.clear like that. And then here where it says bot.addCommand echo command, here we're just adding the commands that we want the bot to listen for. So we don't want it to listen for the echo command, so we can just change this to GPT so that it'll listen to our GPT command. And then on this line here, what we can do is just set which command that we want to serve as the new default help command. And we'll set that with bot.help_command equals GPT, like that. And then bot.run down here, this just runs the bot and it allows it to start listening for incoming messages, okay? So now we can create that GPT command. So let's go up and create a new file. We'll call it gpt.py. And the first thing we want to do is import the command and response module. So we can do that with from webex_bot.models.command import command. And then the same thing, almost the same thing, from webex_bot.models. And then this time response, and then import response. And then both command and response here need to be capitalized, actually. Now, to make our own command for the bot, you just need to extend the command class that we just imported and then use the execute method to define, what you want your bot to do whenever the command is invoked. Okay, so here we can say class GPT and then command inside parentheses like that. And then we want to initialize our class with def double underscore init double underscore and self. Good. And then we'll say super double underscore init double underscore like that. And then here we can say def execute, and then here's where we can tell our bot, what we want it to do. Now, this takes in some different parameters or arguments. Of course, self, we can do message. Message, by the way, refers to the actual input coming in from the user. So the other user who's talking to our bot, whatever the user types, we can grab onto that with message. And then we have attachment actions. Attachment actions refers to things like adaptive cards or form submissions and so forth. And then this last one is activity. And this is for grabbing attributes from card actions like email or something like this. Good. So now whatever code we add here will be executed whenever someone sends a message to our bot. So to test that out, make sure everything is working up to this point at least, let's just go ahead and say return hello world, like that. Then we'll go up and save it. We'll close that out. And then we can run our server with Python, then app.py. We'll cancel that, don't need that. Okay, everything seems to be running here. WebSocket open. Okay, now let's go up and let's say hello. And we get back hello world. Perfect. And here, no matter what we say, we're going to get back hello world because of course, that's what we told it to do, right? Okay, so everything is working so far. So let's go ahead and stop the server here. And then from here, we can go ahead and start bringing in ChatGPT. So if we look at OpenAI's documentation, we have some boilerplate code that we can use, to kind of get started. And we're going to have to modify this a bit, but it's a good way for us to get started. So I'll go ahead and copy that. And then I'll come back over to VS Code. And then I'll paste it in there. And of course, it's a mess here. Okay, let me tab this over. And then I'm just going to get rid of this import OS because again, I'm not planning on, I don't want to use environment variables for this. It's just a demo. And then for import OpenAI, I need to move this actually up to the top. So we'll go import OpenAI like that. And then down here, this is where I need to paste in my key. So we'll go back over to OpenAI's web page. Click here to create a new secret key. Then we'll copy that. Come back over to VS Code and then paste that key here. And we can get rid of this. Okay, next we need to go back to the documentation to see how the chat models take in messages as input. So if we go back here, messages here is an array of message objects or a list of message objects where each object has both a role and content. Now, the role is going to be either system, user, or assistant. So system is going to be the prompt that you give ChatGPT. Like, for example, you could tell ChatGPT, you're going to be a helpful assistant or something like this. So that's the system. And then for user, the user is going to be like the specific questions that the user poses to the bot. For example, who won the World Series in 2020, for example. And then the assistant role, this is going to be used for whatever you want the bot to remember. So in this case, the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series in 2020. Now, this is all well and good, but this kind of isn't really going to work for our purposes, because if we use this as is, the only thing that's going to remember is the question about the World Series. So if you were to ask it another question, it wouldn't remember what previous question you asked it, any of the previous questions you asked it. So if we want our bot to remember what questions you've asked it, then we're going to need a way to sort of update the content for the assistant role. So let's see how to do that. Let's go back over to VS Code and we can see how to do this. The first thing that we want to do is go up here after class GPT. So right up here, we want to create a variable and we're going to call it messages. And we're going to make that equal to an empty list like that. So we just need square brackets like that. Then next, we're going to say messages dot append. And then here we can assign our system role. So we'll say role and then system and then content. And then here is where we can create our prompt. So let's see here. You are a polite assistant answering questions about Cisco collaboration technology, including Webex by Cisco. Prompt engineering is kind of an art, it seems. I didn't put much thought into that, but that should work. This is just for testing, just for demo purposes. Okay, so that's system. Now for the user and the assistant role, we have to add those down here where our command instructions are being executed. So we'll come down here and we'll say message append again, and here for role we'll say user, and then for content we're just going to set that to message. Okay, now remember this message right here, this comes from the message parameter from our execute function up here. Remember, the message parameter is basically the user input. It's not the same as messages up here. And oops, I just noticed this needs to be messages, not message. Okay. And also, since we're calling messages inside of our execute function, we need to make this a class level variable. So what we need to do is add self.messages append there. And then this down here, this was part of the boilerplate code. We can get rid of this altogether. We don't need any of that. And then here we can just say messages is equal to self.messages like that, which of course is this up here. Great. Okay, now we need to handle the response. So we're going to come down here. Let's get rid of this print statement. We don't need that. And instead, let's create a variable. Let's say GPT underscore response. And then this equals completion choices message. And then we just need to add on here at the end, we need to add content. Now, the reason why we need to add content here, actually it's easier if we just look at the documentation. It's easier to see why. So in our response format, completion, it's the whole object here. And then we have choices here, then our brackets with a 0 index and message, and then of course content, which is ChatGPT's response. Okay, hopefully that makes more sense. All right, next, let's go ahead and make sure that our bot can remember all of the questions that we ask it. But however, keep in mind that there might be times when you wouldn't actually want this. You want to just be able to give like a one-off answer. It just kind of depends on what kind of bot you're creating. But just to show you how to do that, how to create a bot with memory, we want to say self.message.append. And then here we'll say role, and then make that assistant, of course. And then, of course, content. And then here, this is also going to be that message parameter. Remember, that's the user input, and we want it to remember the user input. So that needs to be the message parameter. Great. And then let me fix these parentheses. And it looks like I need to fix role here as well. Okay, there. Great. And then the last thing that we need to do is just return GPT _ response. Then I'll go up and I'll save that. Then I'll run the server. We'll cancel that. WebSocket's open, great. All right, let's give it a test. We'll say hello again. And then, uh-oh, that's not good. Let me see what I did here. And then down here it says, Oh, I see. I can't seem to spell worth a darn. This should be GPT, not GTP. Great. Let me go ahead and save that again. Then we'll come down and run the server. Cancel that again. Great. WebSockets are open. All right, let's say hello again. And great. Hello. How may I assist you today with your question, et cetera, et cetera. Perfect. All right, so let me ask it, how do I get a Webex account? Ah, perfect. Look at that. Looks like three different ways to sign up. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you like this one, give it a thumbs up and or subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.